very strongly, so this is why I'm here. I actually rejoice what they do. So as a gesture of rejoice, partly I'm here. I was requested to give you read the Triratna Buddha Sutra, which is remembering the three gems sutra. Remembering the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is the most important. There are only three auspicious things that happen on this earth. Buddha came, that is the first auspiciousness. The thought and the Dharma is the second auspicious. And then the Sangha is produced, and that is the third auspiciousness. So, to make ourselves auspicious now and all the way to the enlightenment, only thing we can do is remembering the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. And remembering the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha will include all the path of the Dharma. So I shall read the sutra first. Di thongan le te ba ke ban ni so rang ge ba jo chen ne di level su chu du wa level kon ni level chu do be chen du wa chi ni tu ma ne ji du ba du da kan ba ye ba ju wa che ba wo ne ba chi ni ni le ba shi The second thing he wants me to do is give you the transmission of 7 line prayers. I'm a follower of Guru Rinpoche. I was born in a family that basically only thinks about Guru Rinpoche. Sometimes they think more about Guru Rinpoche than Shakyamuni Buddha. So morning Guru Rinpoche, night Guru Rinpoche, daytime Guru Rinpoche, before eating Guru Rinpoche, before sleeping Guru Rinpoche, all the time Guru Rinpoche. And probably it's because of that. I personally have so much emotional and both emotional and rational devotion and trust to Guru Rinpoche. I feel that the one who follows Guru Rinpoche and the one who relies on Guru Rinpoche will never be deceived. Even though all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are absolutely one essence, for different capacities and different connection, we have a different affinity with the different gurus and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And I believe that myself and many of you are also connected to Guru Rinpoche. And Guru Rinpoche himself said, those who have a trust in him, Guru Rinpoche is always in their present. So I will recite 7 9 prayers. Okay, the third thing they asked me is what makes you what?
What makes you not a bodhisattva?
Yeah, what makes you not a bodhisattva? Now that is a very, very big subject. At glance, we can say, Drapa Gyatsin of the Sakya said, meaning if you have clinging to your own self, cherishing self, if you have clinging to that, then you are not a bodhisattva. Mahayana path. To define Mahayana path, we need to understand what we call three doors of liberation. Or also in a more simple language, Mahayana is a path that is based on a grand view, the view of not mere selflessness of a person, but selflessness of all phenomena. So because of the grander view, Mahayana's path also consists of grand meditation and action. So for this reason, Mahayana's path, in order to conceive Mahayana's path, you have to get used to the idea of unconceivable view, meditation, and path, action. For instance, when we talk about liberation, we are not only talking about liberation of oneself, or one's own family or a few limited sentient beings, but we aim till all, we aim enlightenment of all sentient beings. This is why in the Mahayana practice, the Bodhisattva's aspiration in many ways is never to be enlightened till all sentient beings are enlightened. For a very small-minded, if you are narrow-minded, this kind of statement that may all sentient beings be enlightened, this kind of statement is very vague and abstract. Even in the mundane world, even the concept such as world peace is almost like poetic and abstract. Even though we talk about world peace, part of us, we believe that that is not going to happen. But the Bodhisattvas is not only aiming for world peace. Such kind of aim is so limited and meager. Bodhisattva is not aiming for a war-free world, no war-free world, famine-free world, disease-free world. Bodhisattva is aiming for the freedom of dualism of all sentient beings. One may wonder, is this just poetic, abstract aspiration? It is not. It is absolutely doable, achievable. So Bodhisattva's aspirations are not just wishful thinking. So how is it that this kind of aspiration is not just abstract? Why is it that? This is because in the Mahayana, Bodhisattva dwells on what we call Namthara Gosum, which is doors of three doors of liberation. Bodhisattva knows that ground or the base is emptiness. In the ultimate sense, there is no size, there is no shape, and there is no quantity. So, for instance, when we think about world peace, the reason why we think it's unachievable is because in our mind we think world is big, that we, the person who is working for world peace, is small. We don't have enough money, enough manpower, we don't have things like that. We think in a very dualistic way. But for the Bodhisattva, ultimately, Bodhisattva knows that all these distinctions of size, quality, quantity, time does not exist. In the Prajnaparamita Sutra, one Bodhisattva complained to the Buddha, saying that after so many eons of benefiting sentient beings, he still finds there's millions and billions of sentient beings still roaming around the samsara. Exhaustion, through the sheer exhaustion, this Bodhisattva complained. As a reply to this, Buddha explained in many different, gave many different examples. But just one or two examples, if I remember properly. He said that if a mother dreamt that her only child is being flooded away, carried by a flood, in the dream she would do everything to save this child, even forsake her own life. And in the dream it may take forever to rescue the child. But this is all dream, is not really happening. And Buddha said this is how the Bodhisattvas benefit sentient beings. He said for a Bodhisattva, from the time he takes the bodhicitta vow, all the way until the last moment of the 10th bhumi, he said the duration of this, even though we say 3 countless eons, he said it is even shorter than a spark of a fire coming out from a fire. When the Bodhisattva had that kind of a view, then Bodhisattva will have no tiredness to benefit countless sentient beings. So we call it Jitongpani, meaning the ground is emptiness. And then Lam Tsenmameva, which is path, is characteristic less. So because the ground is emptiness, therefore the Bodhisattva path is not bound by any character or dualistic distinctions. For instance, even when Bodhisattva engage in a generosity, a Bodhisattva will know that the act of giving, object, the beggar to whom you are giving, and the substance, whatever, like the money you are giving, are all illusion, emptiness. His path is not bound by a character. His path, such as generosity, discipline, meditation, all these are accompanied by wisdom of non-duality. And then finally we call it Devumembameba, which means the result is beyond aspiration. It's not like other religion where you work so hard and finally you have something to aspire for as a result. In many different levels, the result is beyond aspiration. First of all, like Lord Maitreya has said, that there's nothing to expel, there's nothing to adopt. The perfection, one's own perfection, without needing to alter and make it better. It's like the great Longchenpa said, if you are having a nightmare, before the nightmare, during the nightmare, and after waking the nightmare never existed. You can have a long nightmare and you can have a terrible time during the nightmare, such as get bitten by a spider or a snake or eaten alive by a tiger. But in reality, you have not even moved an inch from your comfortable bed. But of course, until we realize this, you still go through the experience of suffering. So anyway, my conclusion is, what makes you not a bodhisattva, right? Generally speaking, if you have self-clinging, if you cherish the self, if you are not dwelling in this sort of view of 3 doors of liberation. Or, to be more simply put, if you divorce between the wisdom and method, if your method is not accompanied by wisdom, then you are not a bodhisattva. And that's it, in a very short form. But the thing is, you guys can ask these guys. They are really learned. We, the Rinpoches, we do all sorts of, like show business. Like sitting on the throne like this, and I don't know, reciting stuff. But these Khenpos, they have lots of knowledge. These Khenpos are here, and you are so lucky, so you should extract their knowledge as much as possible. The Bodhisattva path is incredibly precious. 薩迦祖師札巴堅 said once, we were all in Bodh Gaya. He said that if a chariot is carrying 500 arhats, and if there's no horse to drag, Buddha might consider dragging it with his feet, but the arhats don't have enough merit. But if suddenly there's one person who has a bodhicitta hop into this chariot, then Buddha will have to drag this chariot with his own neck. You know, we are very, very lucky in a way, you and me. We are not just, we are not just born as a human, but a human who can actually hear and discuss matters such as bodhicitta. The world, I mean, forget bodhicitta. This world has not many people talk about love and compassion. Mere, the ordinary love and compassion. Kindness. This world, forget bodhicitta. This world does not have many people who talk about kindness, compassion. Even to have beings who talks about love and compassion really makes a big difference. Even if the world is full of people who really can talk about science and buildings and economy and political glory, if this world does not have people who can talk about kindness and compassion, then the world will not see peace. Now, bodhicitta is far more important than just mere love and compassion, because bodhicitta is not a mere wish to help, is not mere sympathy. When we talk about bodhicitta, we are talking about relative and ultimate bodhicitta both. So we are talking about wisdom and compassion both. So it is this reason why the bodhisattvas can talk about infinite stuff, infinite things. Things like 4 immeasurable thoughts. For the ordinary people, it doesn't fit in their mind, because the ordinary mind can only fit plans like, okay, let's help 100 people, 1,000 people, or even maybe the biggest is let's help all mankind. And when we talk about help, it's a very small help. Usually it's like shelter, food, education. Here we are talking about enlightening all sentient beings, not just 100 or 200 people, but all sentient beings, not just humankind, but all beings. Now, many of us, we may think, how can we have such kind of mind? We are ourselves pathetic, weak, selfish, greedy, etc. This is how we doom ourselves. Okay, I give this example all the time. Here I go again, I will repeat. Every time I go to New York City, New York City was planned about 150 years ago. And the American forefather had planned this city. And probably there was only like few horse carts, not even cars. They decided to have the Central Park, New York Central Park, so big. 150 years ago, when they decided to leave that empty, that takes courage, that takes vision. It's almost like these American forefathers have omniscience, that in year 2000 10, there will be like so many traffic jam, and the people will want a fresh air. They can go to Central Park for the forest. It's almost like that. So likewise, we have to plan very big. And big planning, big vision is the part of the quality of the bodhicitta. And this is something you can already train within us. We can already aspire to have this. Gradually, we will actually feel more and more comfortable to such mind. And then, even though things does not work for our own purpose, we will really not mind because we have a bigger plan. It's like if you have a $1 billion project, a few $1,000 loss, you don't really care. So if you think about all sentient beings' enlightenment, your own enlightenment, sometimes if it doesn't work, you will not really care so much. And the one great thing about mind is it is trainable. So these are just words of encouragement so that you will become Bodhisattva. That's it. Thank you so much.
大家好，我是堪布责任扎西。我们现在周围有一个11位四大教派的一些上师，一起团结一致的，就是开始有做那个网络电视台，请你们多多就是扶持我们，谢谢。